I was just checking on my channel to see when was the last time I uploaded an episode, and it's been less than 4 weeks, so I'm doing great this time around. So, hola, welcome, Bem-vindo to everyone that is joining me here again today. This is episode 26 of Yarn Stories with Olivia. I'm Olivia. My channel is Yarn Stories because I love to talk about yarn and all of the things that I love to make with yarn. So this is a yarn crafting channel where I talk about my knitting and my crochet. And today I have a few finished objects to show. I have 3 active works in progress that I haven't shown on the channel yet. And I've got a little bit of archival talk. There's a bit of storytelling along this episode, so hopefully you'll stick around and listen to me go on about my past makes and what special meaning they have to me. And I also have some recognitions, special hellos to my friends that I've made through this channel, and I'm so happy to be connecting with people from all over the globe. So if this sort of thing is something you enjoy listening to, I invite you to grab a project, sit down, have a little bit of a knitting session with me or a crochet session with me, and let's get started, shall we? So actually, before I start, let me just put on here that all of the show notes below will include all of the information of where you can find me, how you can contact me, all of the notes that I make on Ravelry for my projects. So I'm Olivia 30 on Ravelry, where I'm pretty consistent with posting my makes. So if you're following me there, you've probably already seen some of the things I'm going to be talking about. If you don't use Ravelry, I'm Olivia 30M on Instagram, and I do tend to post some of my knitting and crochet journey there as well. Other announcement is that Gary, my as I fondly call him, my production assistant, thank you to Jen of the Stash Down Diaries, he is upstairs in his sauna. If you watched the last episode, you know that I was taping upstairs and he was nearby, but he would go upstairs in my walk-up attic, get all warmed up, come down, cool off, go back up. And he did that 3 or 4 times while I recorded. And when I went upstairs today to get the basket to get myself set up, he thought that's where I was going to be. And he's in a sauna. I am downstairs because I have the home to myself this morning, and I thought I would just get back to where it all started for me, which is here in the dinette area of my kitchen. And also because it's on the table and I can spread everything out, and I'm not going to shake you when I'm trying to grab anything from the table to show. So let's start with saying that today is August 28th. And yeah, so episode 26, I mentioned that. And since we last sat and chatted about our makes, I have to say that I've been on a bit of a trip. And it was an unplanned and unexpected trip. It was a very economical trip. And it was that I went over to the Netherlands to visit with my friend Karen. Yes, the Netherlands. Hello, Karen. I spent a lovely day visiting with Karen on her deck, where we enjoyed a cup of tea and some knitting time. And I just want to say, Karen, thank you so much for posting that picture of you keeping me, or me keeping you company as you knit on your back deck. That is one of the special things about this channel for me, has been the connection that I've made with people worldwide, people that I never would have gotten in touch with or gotten to know. And Karen did just start up an Instagram page, so I'm able to see her make, so it's not so one-sided anymore. As she has said on the YouTube comments, she'll comment on my makes and lets me know what she's making, but I never actually get to see it, and now I do. So thank you, Karen, for being my new friend. And maybe someday I'll get over there and we will visit in person. The other one that I want to say hello to, and I missed this in the last episode, is hello to Iceland. Yes, Iceland. I know it's John's daughter. I can say that easily, but I have the beginning is a little tough. So Aura Garansdottir 3578. Hello, Iceland is now on my list. And then there's a little shout out to Gary, because he's making friends worldwide too. So Gary would like to say hello to Giangato in Italy, whose human is Elisa B8096. So yeah, thank you for being a fan of Gary. So since I have some new subscribers, I should explain that Gary is my 5-year-old rescue cat, and absolutely my shadow. And yeah, he'll eventually figure out that I'm down here, and he may make an appearance on the channel. So let's start with our finished objects. It's 4. And 2 weekends ago, we did spur of the moment camping trip. I grabbed 4 projects to work on, and I did upload a short here on YouTube showing what I brought with me. And I did ask if I overpacked, underpacked, or packed just right. And all of you agreed with me that I packed just right. There's no such thing as overpacking when you're a knitter or a crocheter, and when you want to bring your yarn makes with you. So I'll add here the video that I recorded the Sunday evening after getting home from camping, where I showed off what I accomplished at the campground. I'm back home from a 2-day camping trip, and you guys were right. I packed just the right amount of projects to take with me. Let me show you what I got finished. The vanilla socks that are my car knitting, they're done. I got in some crochet time and made another octodot cowl using up the leftover mystery rose yarn that I had to go along with its twin that was at home. So there's 2 that are gonna go into the gift box. I got in some time to work up one of the winter hats that I had planned. All that's left is to weave in the ends. And I spent some time working on this beautiful raglan top, the Mellow Mood top, using Upland Fiber Co yarn in the colorway Mariner, and it is stunning. I'm loving every minute of knitting with this yarn and working on this project, and that's my plan for this evening, to sit back here on my slightly windy deck and work up on some more on this. Okay, we're back. So let me show you the finished objects in their full finished form, shall I? Let's start with the octodot cowls. I know I've shown it to you before, but proof that I did finish 2, it was on the video. I've got them on top here of the gift box. There's 2 of them, so it's gonna go inside my gift box. What? This way? That's what this box here is. Everything that I make that's gonna be gifted goes in there. So that's 2 more of those rose cowls that are going in there. And, well, I started another one, and I'll show you that in a minute because it sort of ties into this as well. So that counts as the 2 finished objects. The other one that I want to show you is considered a new object. And I finished the Santorini socks. So these will be my 8th pair of socks this year. It is my August socks, and here they are, completely finished. In the last episode, I had shown them to you, and I think I had one all done and one partially done. I did end up finishing it at the campground. It's pure vanilla knitting, so just knitting around. Super easy knitting when you're having a conversation or, you know, had a couple of beers with the friends. And yeah, they came out wonderful. I mentioned in the last episode that this is the first time that I've used Knit Picks. It's Knit Picks Felice yarn. Sorry. Okay. It is this yarn here. Knit Picks Felice, colorway Santorini. It's a 75-25, 75 superwash, 25% nylon. I picked up a few balls of this yarn in different colorways to give it a try. And I have to admit that I really enjoyed knitting with it, and I really like the feel of the sock. And I do probably plan to buy more in the different colorways when they come out. So for the cuff, heel, and toe, I used the contrasting color. I used the leftover yarn from my pedal party top. I've mentioned before how I like to use, once I have yarn caked up or in a little project bag, which my little chip hat basket, Fiber Hustle, Love this little bag. It's great for the campground as well because I can hook it onto the camping chair and work with a yarn from it. So for the heel, cuff, and toes, I used was the Heritage, Cascade Heritage. And it doesn't have a colorway, but it's it was colorway 5603. I used it for the pedal party crop, and I still had a full ball left. I actually went through my stash, and I have a whole other skein of this yarn upstairs that I'm gonna have to find a project for. And so this is what I used for the contrast color. And it's a win. I had them blocking, and there's already a, well, can we start wearing these? But it's not cold enough yet to start wearing these. Of course, I mentioned before, the husband likes to wear socks with his Crocs, so he may end up putting these on soon. So finished object number 2 is a Santorini socks, because I will count the additional Octodot cowl as a finished object. All right, next up is the, what I'm calling the vanilla chunky hats. You saw on the video that I took a bag, actually in the short that I did, I took this bag filled with yarn to make hats at the campground. So this bag was made for me by my friend Manuela from Do Coração Atelier. She's in Porto, Portugal, and she has an Instagram page where she posts the pictures of her bags. That she makes these lovely, lovely quilted bags. And you'll find a link to her page below if you're interested in looking to see what she has available for sale. Here's Manuela's card with her information, where you can find her. And this is what I ended up making with, I had 150-gram ball in Just Red, and I had 250-gram balls in the marled yarn, which is this color here. And this is all I've got left from the 250 grams. So it's a win for stashing down Elder Stash, which is another initiative that I'm participating in. It's Jen from the Stash Down Diaries, where you're encouraged to use up your elder stash. And this is yarn that I bought possibly in 2008, 2009, and it was well beyond the time that it was used. So that's what's left, and this is what is finished. I made 2. They're identical, and I'm calling them vanilla chunkies because the yarn is a chunky weight, and this is my vanilla pattern for these beanie hats, which I've got all of the information on how I did these on my Ravelry page, and I did call them the vanilla chunky hats. And yeah, it's the beanie, it's beanie with a, I didn't measure how long the brim is. I did do 15 rounds because I had one ball. I ended up doing so much of the rib for the brim, and then I would do this side, and then I did this side, and then I did this side. I was going from the inside of the ball and the outside of the ball so that I could get to where I used up all of the red yarn. And I think I ended up with just like not even an inch or 2 left of the red, which went into the scraps. And then I took the 2 50-gram balls of the marls, and I just knit the hats congruently, and they ended up pretty much exactly the same, again leaving me with just this left. What did I use for this one? I used a and I just looked down at my notes and I realized that on the socks I forgot to say that I did was 64 stitches on a size 2 2.75 millimeter needle. But again, all of that's going to be on my Ravelry page, so but in case somebody wanted to hear me say it and they were saying to the screen, you forgot to say what the amount of stitches was, now you know. Okay, and back to the hats. Sorry about that interruption. So the hats I made using Let me get the label out here. It is Jaeger Extra Fine Merino Chunky. And I believe, yeah, this is color 024 and color 024. So this would be the marled because I've got 2 bands. And I've mentioned this before where, because it's such elder stash, unfortunately it's a discontinued yarn. And this would be 023 would have been the red. And on this one, I still have the price on it. So I paid $8.50 for it. So that's 3 empty ball bands that I can count as 150 grams of used stash. And let me show you what it looks like in its ball form because I have 2 more to go. This is what it looks like in the ball form. So I've got this colorway here, which is colorway 025. So it looks like I had 024, 023, and 025. And this one is colorway 016. It was on clearance at the yarn shop that I went to back in 2008, 2009. And that's why I didn't have a whole bunch of them. In the same colorway, I grabbed what she had left. These are my favorite colors. I love browns and taupes. So I'm going to figure out what to make with this. I may have some other cream chunky yarn and stash that I can combine with it and make maybe a cowl. Not sure yet, but it's going back here as my project bag because we are going camping for Labor Day weekend. So this bag is traveling with me again with the yarn to make more hats. And I should say that I have my needles in here, so it just reminded me that I need to tell you that I used was a size 10, 6mm, and a size 8, 5mm, 8 for the brim and the 10 for the body of the hat. All the details on how I made them are on Ravelry if you want to go take a look. If you don't use Ravelry, send me a message and I will give you the details on how I made them, okay? So these are going to go into the box. That's 2 more items that will go in there. And what I do is I keep this gift box when it comes time for gift giving. I go through it and I pass it on. And if I don't have anybody for it, I take it into work and those hats end up going into the donation box that goes for people who are in need of a hat. So now let's talk about, let's see, do I want to go archives or no? I'm going to go with the active whips or the progress report. Last episode, I'm pretty sure I showed you, but let me give you the progress report on my Christmas bell, which I am loving. I'm at the stage now where it's just stockinette stitch. So here's my Christmas bell. And I did an updated photo on Ravelry that I took over here. So I kept it in the hanger. And let me go this way so I can show it to you better. So here's the Christmas bell. The color work is all done. I have split for sleeves. I've tried it on and it fits perfectly. There's short rows in the back, so the back is a little longer. So you can see a little bit more. I think this is where I was the first time I took a photo or the first time I showed it on the podcast. And there's so much more I've gotten done. So it is at the stockinette. It's just knit, knit, knit now until I get to the length that I need it to be before I do the rib. And yes, I think I showed this last time too, the floats. I'm so impressed with my floats because color work is not natural for me. It takes me some thought to do it because I am not a continental knitter and color work will be done. So I'll knit with my right and then the contrasting color will be on my left and my gauge is a little looser on the left. Oh, there you go. And oh, the yarn that I'm using is this Gorgeousness from Fiber Seed. in Santa Suit is the colorway. It is fingering weight yarn, and it is a 75-25. No, I did that wrong last time too. It's not a 75-25. It is Sooty Suit. It's fingering. It is 90% merino wool and 10% nylon. And fiber seed. That's this yarn. And the contrasting color that I'm using is a slightly very light gray. And it is yarn that I picked up when I visited Montreal. It's La Laine de Courtier yarn, and their unique colorway. And I still have this much left over, so this will probably end up featured into another octo dot cowl, because I did use some of this for the first octo dot cowl that I did in the Eye Canyon colorway yarn. So I used it for that cowl, I used it for this color work, and I still have enough left over to use for another project. And what am I forgetting to say about that project? How could I forget? That is an Isabell Kraemer pattern. The Christmas belt, Isabell Kraemer. I love her patterns. I think I'm going to end up knitting all of her patterns at some point. I already have about 4 or 5 in my collection. And we will be talking about a new Isabell Kraemer pattern that I cast on. That'll be a new, totally not seen before cast on. So that's the Christmas bell. I don't think there's much more to say on that because we've talked about it before. It's going to sort of go into hibernation for a little bit because I'm not going to need it until obviously the holiday season, and because I've got so many other works in progress going and some other objects that have a more immediate deadline, I'll put that one aside for a while. So you may not see that one again until late November, early December. Progress report on object number 2. I did show you this in the last episode that I was planning on casting it on, and I did, and I am loving it. Is the Mellow Mood top. And oh, that's the back. Here's the front. Here's my Mellow Mood top. Look at how gorgeous this pattern is in its simplicity, but mostly how beautiful it is in the yarn that I'm using. I am using Upland Fiber Co. Merhair. This is the tag, and the owner of this company is Michael, and it's absolutely stunning yarn. If you can see how it's spun, and it knits up so beautifully. It's a DK weight yarn. So it has 70% American Merino and 30% American mohair. It's sourced here in the Northeast of the United States. And the first time I met Michael and I got to see his yarn was at Fiberfest in New England, and his booth was really close to the Fiber Seed booth. And I had wanted to support both, but because I ended up buying the Fiber Seed because I couldn't resist the Sooty Suit colorway. At the time, Michael had fingering and worsted weight yarn in his booth, and the colors were these, but I couldn't think of what I wanted to make with fingering weight, and I didn't really need the worsted weight because I don't tend to knit with worsted weight too often. And so I decided that next go round I would pick some yarn up from him, and that's what I had planned to do now at Fiberfest in New England that's coming up in November. But he had a trunk show at Skane Yarn Shop in East Greenwich, Rhode Island, and I did go visit the trunk show and took the opportunity to grab up this new yarn that he has, and I'm so happy that I did. So let me show you, let me see more details. What can I tell you about this? So the construction on this is a raglan construction, and I think I'm using a size 6 or a size 7 needle. I'm not quite sure, but it'll be on the Ravelry page. And what's unique about this pattern, and you may notice that it might look a little different down here from here, and it's not because the colorway changed or the dye lot has changed. I think you might see it better in the back. You see that in the back? Yeah, you can see it better here. It's because I am following the pattern. I had gauge, I had the right, and I blocked my, I do have proof that I did it. I do have my swatch. I did the little swatch. I had the right amount of stitches to the needle size. But I found that when I was doing this and I did the test fit, I found it really snug on the neck. And I wasn't sure I was going to be comfortable with how snug it was up here because, you know, I like a little, I like a little air over here. And because it has a little bit of the mohair, I wasn't sure how I would feel by wearing it all day. So what I did was I washed it. I washed it when I got to the point after the sleeve separation. I washed it, you know, I soaked it in wool wash, dried it out. You know, I didn't exactly block it too far, but I did, I blocked it, I let it air dry, and I tried it on, and it did feel better. It did feel a little looser around the neck. Now, do I read patterns beyond what I'm working on? No, I don't. I read step by step. Cast on, do it. X amount of stitches, do it. I'm a paper follower, a paper pattern follower, so I just like to put my little check marks when I've done what the designer has told me to do. Not reading forward. So block it, wear it, a little worried about how it's going to feel, but after blocking it, it felt a little looser, so I'm like, okay. And then I read the instructions further beyond the sleeve separation. Or I should say, I read the instructions a little bit further, and that's where I found out where the short rows go to increase the back, so that you have more room in the pattern for it to grow in the front. Okay, now, let me back that up a little bit. First of all, it's a very different construction. The pattern is written so well. I love how there's stops along the process where the designer tells you, and I should tell you who the designer is because that's what I forgot to say, right? So it's the Mellow Mood top by Julia Piro, and this is what it looks like. So there's all of these little like light bulb moments in her pattern to give you a, hey, stop, do this first before you continue. So it's brilliant, brilliant for people who, like me, think they know what they're doing. And then, yeah, more on that about knowing what I think I know I'm doing and I'm not doing it correctly. Yeah, that's gonna be the next thing that we're gonna talk about. But anyway, so yeah, so the designer says that, you know, trust that the neckline will grow as you continue to knit the project because we add length to the back. And that's what's happening here. Now, so this is what was blocked. So as you can see how the yarn works up, blocked and unblocked. So that's a good example. And the color is pretty true. It is, the colorway is Mariner. And I've said it before, I don't use ring light, so I'm just using natural light from my deck door. But I think it shows off the color really well. So this is what the yarn will look like once it's completely all blocked, and this is the working yarn. So she has a very unique way of adding short rows for growth in the back. I'm not going to tell you because this is a paid for pattern, but it works. And here is the side construction with the back already longer than the front. Let me show it to you this way. I'm trying to figure out what the best angle is to show you because the side that will probably show you better is the one where I've got all of the yarn hanging and the needles. And yeah, so it's, you know, you've got a little bit more length in the back already. So much like the Christmas bell I'm just on the stockinette portion of this now, and it is working up really fast. Size 6 needles, I remember now is exact, it's size 6. And so the raglan construction is done, and now it merges into this side panel, and this is gonna go all the way down to the bottom. Loving it, and my plan for this one is to wear it at Indie Untangled, which I will be going. I did buy my ticket. I believe I'm in the second session of the day, and because Michael is going to be vending at Indie Untangled, and I do want to stop in at his booth and show off my top made in his beautiful yarn. And I have a feeling I'm going to come away with a little bit more Upland Fiber Co. yarn after that trip. So Indie Untangled, for those of you that don't know, is part of the Rhinebeck New York Sheep and Wool event that happens in October. I believe it's the 3rd week in October, or the 2nd week in October. No, it's the 3rd week in October, and it's in upstate New York. And this will be my 4th year of going. So I'm really looking forward to it, because I'm looking forward to meeting up with some friends that I've made through this channel, and you know, maybe some of you who we haven't met in person, if you see me there, my little channel, if you have found me and you are going to be at Rhinebeck, hopefully we'll meet there. We'll talk more about that in the next episode. Okay, so that's a wrap up on this one. I think I've covered everything. I've given you needle size. I've told you what the yarn is. I've told you the designer of the pattern. I've told you who the yarn is by. And yeah, I think that's all. By the next episode, I'll have this done, because we are, did I mention this already? We're gonna go camping. It's Labor Day weekend here in the United States, and we're gonna go camping this weekend, and I do plan to take this with me, since it's now, I can work on this without having to look at the pattern, because I did memorize how this works now. So those are the active works in progress that are actually working correctly. So this is a section now that is a bit of a progress report. It's a bit of a story time. So if you need to take a break, now would be a good time to do so. Hopefully you are going to stay on with me. I have something to show that's a bit of a lesson learned. And yeah, and I still have to talk to you about the archives, which I haven't forgotten. I am going to tell you what this is and what this yarn means, and what I've done with some, one of the projects I've made with this yarn. And yeah, and I still have something from the archives that ties into the last episode where I talked about the advent and what I made with the yarn that I did an advent with Anne on. I did take that out of my drawer so I could show it off. So hang in with me for a bit. Fast forward this part if you're not interested in learning about knitting mistakes or misreading patterns, because you want to get to the point where I show you what I did with the yarn advent, because it is yarn advent season, and if you want to have an idea of creating your own advent, my example is a good one for you to stop planning out what you're going to use with your scraps. Okay, that was a little bit of a commercial for the second portion of this podcast. Okay, so let me go on to the mistake. So I mentioned how much I love knitting Isabell Kraemer's patterns, and I have quite a few in my library. And I do have an upcoming trip back to Porto, Portugal. I was there last June, and I had picked up some yarn from a lovely, lovely shop there, Lopo Xavier. And I plan to revisit it and pick up some more yarn. I bought yarn from their shop that is milled and dyed specifically for their shop. And the yarn that I picked up, and here's the name of the store if you want to see how it is in Portuguese. So Lopo Xavier. The yarn that I have is Phoebus. It's a sport weight yarn. And this is 100% Portuguese wool. And this is what it looks like in its skein form. And the color is AZ, and it's a number of 2421. So I'm going to say that the color is azul. It's a navy blue. There's the stitch definition with this yarn is gorgeous. the yarn knits beautifully. It's nice and lightweight. It has a slight rustic feel, but once it is washed and blocked, it is super, super soft. And I did do a swatch, but I don't have it. So this yarn, I've used up one ball so far. This is my working ball. So let me show you what I'm working on. I am working on the Neona by Isabell Kraemer. It is a lovely pattern with some texture than just stockinette. I had picked up some of this yarn from my friend Robin as well. She chose green, and Robin started to work on her Neona top in the green, and it looks beautiful. And she posted a picture on Ravelry, and I said, I have to get going with my yarn and do the same thing, because the plan was for us to be twinning with our sweaters when we go to yarn events. And since I'm going to Porto soon, Manuela, estou quase aí. I'm almost there, and I can't wait, because there's so much for me left to see there. I decided to cast on the Neona, and this is what I have done so far. This side, this side was slightly blocked because I wanted to see the stitch definition. This side I haven't done. So the construction on this Neona, so this is the back. The construction on the Neona is you do the back, you cast on here, you do your back stitches, and then once that's done to a certain amount of inches, then you pick up where you cast on, and then you start working the pattern in the front. So right now I've got the back done, and I'm now starting the left shoulder, okay? But throughout the whole process of this, I kept looking at it and I kept saying, I'm not seeing the diamonds. I'm not seeing the shape and the pattern that I've seen on Robin's piece, or that I've seen in the finished projects on Ravelry. What am I missing? What am I missing? So hence why I decided to just soak this part, the right shoulder, stretched it out, let it dry to see if maybe it was the yarn that was just poofing up and I couldn't see the pattern. Okay, so let me show you up close. And I'll put a picture here of what it's supposed to look like. So this is what I have. So it's not a bad texture, it's a pretty texture, but it's not the texture that's in the pattern. It's not the texture that I saw on Robin's. And I kept looking at it, I'm like, what have I done wrong? What is it that I've done wrong here? And yeah, that was it. I put it aside. I'm like, I'm gonna have to frog this and start it over again. But then I got it into my head that maybe it was because of the navy blue, I wasn't seeing the pattern. So I decided to grab another yarn that I had in stash, a yarn that I've used before that I really, really love. And the yarn that I used before is Upcycle Alpaca Blend Sport Weight from Knit Picks. I had used this yarn to make my Rhinebeck sweater last year. I had made the Lengiana by Filipa Nunoy, a designer for Rosarios Quatro yarn in Portugal. It was her pattern, but I used Rosarios Quatro yarn for the color, but the solid is this Knit Picks yarn. And I loved working with this yarn. The sweater was fantastic because it was a warm sweater, but it was a very light sweater, and I was very comfortable wearing it at Rhinebeck, because as we know, the weather has seemed to be very warm the last few years. Went in, mid-October in upstate New York. So who knows what's gonna happen this year. So I wanna be prepared. So I had planned to use this yarn for another sweater, but given my going off the rails with that one, I cast on a new one. And here's what it's looking like in this yarn. Oh, I should show you the yarn. This is what the yarn looks like. And the colorway, it just says color 29699. I'm not sure the color, but it's like a taupe, which I've said before is one of my favorite colors. I do love blues, but I also love taupes. Love like cafe au lait colors. And here's what it's looking like. Recast on. Okay. Now, tell me if you see the triangles. You see them? You see the puffies, the triangles? If I'm calling out triangles or diamonds. I should say diamonds, not triangles. If I go this way, you can see it, right? See it? You know why you can see it? Because now I'm doing the pattern right. Yeah? Essa cabeça sometimes doesn't calculate correctly. So here's what it looks like done correctly, and here's what it looks like not done correctly. Let me put them side by side. Correct? Not correct. Okay, see? Same needle size, same sport weight yarn. Doesn't matter that one is navy blue and one is this taupe color. It's because Olivia, don't know how, sometimes this brain completely missed a part of the pattern and missed 2 row repeats all the way from cast on to the end, and was starting to do it in the front as well. Totally missing 2 rows. And I'll tell you why I was missing 2 rows. I told you I don't read ahead, right? But there's no excuse why I saw this and I still missed it. And I discovered my mistake at somewhere between 11:30 p.m. to quarter to midnight, because I was getting so frustrated that I wasn't getting it. Cast this on at about, I don't know, 10:30, 10:45. The husband had gone to bed, and I'm like, I gotta figure this out. I have quiet now. I'm gonna start over again. Let's see what it was that I did wrong. Because I didn't want to take that apart, because if I was right and that it was just my eyes not seeing it, I don't want to have to restart all of that. So that's why I know that I saw this. It was about an hour after he'd gone up to bed. And I didn't scream because he was sleeping. And I didn't hit myself because I was afraid of hurting myself. But it was one of those, oh my goodness, wait. So I can show you this because there's, really nothing here about the pattern. So here's how Isabell Kraemer does her patterns. There's columns. You got, your column and your column, and then, so it gets to a point where it says, now go and start it's called the, what's the stitch called now? I just blanked out on what the stitch is called. So you get to a certain point of your cast on, and then you start the stitch pattern, which is the seersucker stitch. And this is the seersucker stitch. I'll show it to you. So it's down here at the bottom. And so right there, it goes up to row 5, but you're supposed to do, row 1 and then row 2. You just knit the stitches as they appear, because you're going back and forth. You're not knitting it around. So row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, row 6. Okay. What does Olivia do after row 6? Well, got to go back up to 1, right? Because, it ends here, right? So go back up to 1. No. Olivia forgot that it's a 2 column. Row 7 and 8 are up here. So on the navy one, row 7 and 8 never got done. And that's what would have closed the triangle up. So you get that little poof in the middle. Olivia completely, stuck to here and never looked up here. Never looked up here. But worse yet, you want to know what's worse yet and why I really wanted to hit myself? Was that in here it says you knit row 2, 4, 6, and 8. You work all stitches as they appear. Olivia never said, where's row 7? Until quarter to midnight. Look at that. So, can I tell you how frustrated I was with myself? But seeing how successful it was coming out, I am going to continue this one. I am going to end up working on this so that this does become my Rhinebeck sweater. in this Knit Picks upcycle because, as I said, I love it. But I am not going to take this apart. I am going to continue to work this one. But now I know what my mistake is, and so I'm going to do the front correctly. Right? I'll do the front correctly. Because this is the back. The truth is, it's going to be in the back. Nobody's going to see it. My hair's gotten really long. My hair's going to cover it. And should I have the fortune of running into Isabell Kraemer again for a photo op while wearing this shirt, I will make sure that I walk backwards, okay? I'm going to go back. I'm not going to let her see that I totally messed up the pattern because I've got the length that it's supposed to be. I'm not going to worry about the stitches not being correct. And what I'm thinking of doing, since Porto in late September will still be slightly warm, I'm going to make this one as a tee. It'll be a t-shirt similar to what I'm wearing. This sort of length sleeve will be comfortable, and I'll keep that one as a long sleeve. So stay tuned to see how these are going to come out. I do plan to finish this because, like I said, it's on a timeline. Even before I finish that Mellow Mood top, this one's going to end up going to Portugal sooner than Rhinebeck, and I do want to wear it so I can take a picture at the shop wearing it. But anyway, that's my adventure with this one. So it doesn't matter how long I've been knitting, how many garments I've made, how many patterns I've followed. It's always going to be a snag at some point. And goodness, you know, how I just kept going and going and just knowing it wasn't right, but I kept insisting something's here because it's not, you know, Olivia's just not seeing it. Maybe it's the glasses. It wasn't. It was totally not paying attention to the pattern and missing that other column. So anyway, have any of you ever done something like that? Have you knit to a point and you're like, something's not right? And then what have you decided to do? Do you continue with it, figuring it's a design element, or do you take it all apart and start again? Or you're like me and you have so much yarn at home, you can go shop your stash and start the project all over again with a whole different yarn. Let me know, because I love talking to you here on the comments. So let me know what your process is with these makes. And if I haven't said it yet, let me say it again, how much I love Isabell Kraemer patterns. They're so well written and the fit is always on the mark for me. I've learned with her patterns because she does have a lot of positive ease. I do know already that I do a size 4 for up here, and then for the body, I'll increase to a size 5. And it's actually what I'm doing as well with the Mellow Mood top. I know that I need a little bit more room up here. And so I'll increase the size here, even though I started to question myself about the neckline. But as I said, once I blocked it, it was a comfortable neckline. So I'm trusting the process on that one with Julia Piro, just as I trust Isabell Kraemer with her patterns. So I think that is a wrap up. The only thing I forgot to mention is on that one I'm using is US 4 millimeter, US 4 3.75 millimeter needles to make that garment. And I think that's enough of a confession of my knitting journey with that one. And yeah, so I have a card here in front of me that was sent from a viewer, and I keep looking at it because sometimes I need to let myself know that it's okay, I'm doing right. So let me show you this now. The card that I have in front of me is "You Are Amazing," and I received this in the mail, and it is from a viewer who was the winner of the pistachio yarn. I had a good chuckle at how she had to look up writing pistachio. So the yarn made it to her. It's all kicked up according to her note, and it's ready for her to start working on the library socks, which is the perfect pattern for the yarn from a librarian. And this is Janet in New Jersey. So Janet, I am so looking forward to seeing the socks in that yarn. And yes, I agree. I think that yarn is going to look great in that pattern. And she was so sweet. I don't expect anything back ever, and I don't want anybody to ever feel they have to send me something back when I send out a prize, because just your company here and your comments and just knowing that somebody is watching and appreciating your time is enough for me, because giving of our time is the most selfless thing any of us can do. Anyway, but she did send in, so I wanted to show it off. I haven't taken it off because I'm with you. She sent me the cutest little Progress Keeper stitch marker, and it's flip-flops. So I'll be adding this to my collection of stitch markers, or as a progress keeper. So that is, so Jan Knits All, thank you so much for the gift. So let's go to the archive section now, because I know some of you are wondering, what am I wearing? Because it is a pretty piece and it is some of my favorite colors. I am wearing, it's a Hitchhiker by Martina Bem. And when I went to go get it so I could talk about it in the podcast, I went on Ravelry and I realized that I never actually posted this on Ravelry. And the story with it, I'll put that all on Ravelry as well, but you'll be the first ones to hear this. So this Hitchhiker, I am calling my Zoom scarf. This is something that I cast on within a few days of us being asked to close down the library to public access. And I know I'm going back in time, and some of us don't like to talk about what happened in 2020 because it's over and it's done with. But this is why I said that this is a bit of a story, and I put it towards the end so that if you're here with me, you are interested in hearing about it. If you're gone, well, no harm, no foul. It's okay. Well, I'll catch you on the next one. So it was, I knew nothing about Zoom, right? Like most of us, I knew nothing about Zoom, and all of a sudden we're closed down. And not that I'm a first responder by any means, but as a public library that took in a lot of people, all of a sudden to be closed from one day to another was very chaotic. And it was all pretty much put on my shoulders what I was going to do about closing 5 libraries, and a main library and 4 branches and a bookmobile. And what was I going to do with all that staff? How are we going to manage doing this library service to people that relied on us? Some of our elder patrons who relied on the bookmobile. It was just, I don't know, just went into, let's figure this out day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute. But then that's when all of the Zoom learning happened. All of a sudden it's like, we're all going to meet on Zoom to strategize. So there was a tier 1 and tier 2 of Zoom calls, obviously the first responders, and then it would be reaching out to the community services departments, community services, council on aging, parks and recreations, library, on what we could do while still in the building but not serving the public. Anyway, so I figured if I'm going to be doing these Zoom calls and listening to people talk, I need to have something in my hands, because it would have to be something in yarn. It has to be something, because yarn to me is calming, it's therapy. If I'm knitting on something, my anxiety, not that I suffer from anxiety, but normal day to day, like, oh my God, I got to get this done, I got that done. This sort of yarn will balance me, I guess is what I want to say. So I'm not too stressed out over things. And so I brought this yarn in and the needles, because I had done this pattern many times, and every time we had a Zoom call, I would knit to a certain amount. So sometimes it was only an inch, sometimes it was 4 inches, depending on how long the call went. So off I went, and I kept doing it, and I kept it in this drawer in my desk for a good 3 years. I think I did. Yes, I cast it on in April of 2020, and because that's when it all started to happen with the Zoom stuff. That's how I know the date. And I cast it off on March 2023. And I know I cast it off on March 23 because it marked the 3-year anniversary of the day that we closed, which was March 16th, 2020. And so I used this mystery yarn, which is absolutely beautiful. I brought in 2 or 3 balls of it, had it in the drawer, kept doing it. In fact, by the time I cast it off, And the day that I took it out of the drawer to work on it because I have a very old 1950s desk where the drawer sometimes gets stuck. It had gotten stuck. And the cast on end, so this would have gone this way, it got stuck and it ripped. So here's my bad attempt, my very bad attempt at making the end look somewhat reasonable, because at that point I'm like, I'm not going to, you know, I cut it, what got stuck, and I don't even know, I think I did it with a crochet hook. I did something to it to just, yes, it with a crochet hook. I slip stitched it so that it could lock in the stitches, because, you know, the end would have been like this when I started. So brought it home, and I've worn it quite a few times to work, and it does get a lot of compliments. But here's the story behind this yarn. This is what the yarn looks like. I had 6 of these balls. I don't know the colorway. I do know it's sock weight yarn. I'm assuming it's a 75-25, because I picked up this yarn in, well, it's closed now, but in my local area, the craft shop was AC Moore. And I used to visit AC Moore every Friday as part of a day out shopping with my mom. I had Fridays off of work, and it was our day to go get her groceries done, or if it was a nail appointment or a haircut, or sometimes it was just to go have lunch and go do some shopping. This was about 12 years ago. My mom passed away now, 11 years. And she knew how much I loved to buy yarn. She always used to tell me, let's go to the yarn shop. And AC Moore at the time would do the 40% off coupon. So I would give her one, and I'd have one, and then we would go shop, and she would say, all right, pick a yarn and I'll buy it for you. So this is what she bought. So this is what it is. It's mill ends. So AC Moore would have these big containers of yarn that was just a mill end, whatever that they had. It doesn't have a ball band, nothing. It was in these bags. So in this bag here, I had 6. So 3 along this way and 3 more on top. So I had a total of 6 in this yarn. And when I went to go get the bag to show you, to talk about this, I found that I still had the receipt in there. So I bought this, so AC Moore. So I bought this in, let's see, because it's already faded out. If it's got a date, yep. February 1st, 2014. I hadn't looked at this earlier, so apologies, because my mom passed away February 2014. So she actually passed away 6 days after we did this purchase. So this is real special yarn. The yarn was $4.19 because we saved 40% off of $2.80. So yes, I knew we had purchased this yarn shortly before her passing away, but I had no idea it was that close. So it's a special memory for me. So this scarf's got some meaning. Crazy time in my life, twice. And, but I cherish it. And it's, so it's an easy pattern to work. I've made 3 or 4 of them. Martina Bem has some beautiful shawl patterns. And yeah, I wanted to work on this whole idea of using elder stashing, because I knew I still had this yarn downstairs. I went to go grab it. Also because I wanted to use up more of this Cascade 220, because I want to use this up. And guess what I decided to make with it? You're gonna get tired of seeing these, but I can't help it, because it's a great, great crochet pattern if you want to make something as a gift. And I made another octo-dot cowl in the yarn. So here's the yarn in crochet, and here's the yarn knit up. And it's beautiful either way. And would love to know what yarn this is, what company it is, what colorway, because I do plan to make more projects with it. I've got these 3 balls left. And so this took about 2.5 balls, and I've got the rest of what was here and here. Plus I took a little bit more from this one to finish it. But look at how pretty the stitch definition is in crochet with this yarn. And this is such a lovely pattern. It's, if you're a crocheter, it's double crochet, single crochet stitches. Not more than that. And you use the solid in between the double crochet, either your single crochet in between the double. So when you have a highly variegated yarn like this, you team it with a solid, you get this. But look at this. I'll have to take my thumbnail photo with these yarns, because talk about showing off the crochet and the knit version. So that's the story with this, and I guess I can take this off and put it so we can see. I can wear it for the rest of the podcast. Well, the door open, it hasn't been too warm, which, by the way, it's now starting to be a lovely 72, 73 degrees. It's going to be a beautiful weekend. Let me show you the yarn up close in knit form. It just worked up really nice like that. So that's the knit version, and let's put on I haven't blocked it yet, but I think the yarn itself is so pretty, it doesn't matter if it's blocked or not. And yeah, another win. I think I'm gonna make, well, obviously I'm gonna make a few more of this because I have enough of that cascade yarn, and I have enough of this, and I'll end up making, I'll keep one, I'll make one for my sister, and I'll probably make a couple more and send down to Florida to my cousin and to my aunts, and let them know. I'll write a note and let them know why this yarn is so special. My mother was very, she admired my love of making things with yarn. And her thing was always, who are you going to make that for now? Para quem é que tu estás a fazer isto? And she would argue with me that I always love to give things away. And so I continue to give things away in her memory. Okay, enough emotion. Let's get back on track here, shall we? I've got nothing new. I've got no new acquisitions to talk about, and I've got no new projects cast on because obviously my hands are full with the Neonas that I'm working on. But I did want to show you in closing the last archival piece, which is the Advent project that I did with the yarn that I got from Anne. And it was in it was the Advent of 2021, December 2021. Anne had sent me a whole bunch of minis that were leftovers of her sock yarn, and I chose to work on this project based on what she numbered 1 through 24. I didn't look at the colors in advance. It's just whatever I grabbed, number 1, that's the one I used. And what I did was a Casapinka pattern called Pinions. And here's my Ollie Pinions wrap. Here's what my project looks like. And what I'll do is, because it's hard to show it here because I'm sitting down, I'll put a photo of me here wearing it. And I actually took the pictures outside after a big snowstorm we had, and you'll see just how much snow I had in my backyard. And of course my hair was a lot shorter, but you'll get a sense of what this looks like. And so this is almost like a sampler project. It started out, the first clue was this textured pattern here. So the first yarn I pulled out was this cranberry color, and then it was a navy one, and you can't, if you can really see that it also has a little bit of a texture pattern to it. Yeah, you see it. And then that's clue number 3, which was another little bit of a pattern. And then number 4 and 5 was together. And then clue 6 and 7. And basically I just went, I kept pulling the yarn as she had numbered it. And it just went, you know. Some of the rows are, so this one here, for instance, is just a garter row pattern. So a little boring to work on, but what it did was it gave you pauses in between to catch up if you were falling behind before you went to your stitch patterns. Here's another garter row in the purple, another garter row in this, or the whatever day this was, and then there's, you know, the lace pattern. So it alternated. I would say there's 1, 2, 3, there's 5 garter rows as like rest area points, let's call them that. Since this was an adventure, you had your little rest areas to get caught up. It worked out really nicely. I love wearing it with jeans. Sometimes in the spring I'll wear it when we go shopping. Just throw it over a sweater. It's just the right size to keep me warm. But here's the point that was fun for me, is that I wanted to use up all of the yarn that Anne gave me. Last episode I showed you that I did the Hitchhiker light, a Hohi Locatelli pattern with the yarn. That was the 25th day skein from Anne, which was Craft House Magic Here Comes the Rain colorway, and it was a Merino Stellina yarn. So what did I do with the rest of the yarn from these advents? So I made myself a pair of shorty socks. Okay, here's my shorty socks. And they've been worn quite a bit and washed quite a bit. So you'll see that they're a little chunky monkeys. So if you look at my wrap here, so I did clue 1, and then I did the cuff with the rest of the yarn for the socks. Okay. And then clue 2, I had enough yarn. Because her minis were 20 grams. So here's the second row. Here's the third row, third color. Then the green, I got the green, and then the gold, and then the dark green, and so on. Here's the sock. And what I did with the rest of the yarn from that was I made mittens. And these are the soccer mitts, I believe. Yep, soccer mitts. It's a pattern by Erica Luder, and it's free on Ravelry. And so I did start to make decisions on color planning so that I could have the gloves have colors that sort of ran together or matched up. So I have the socks, the mittens, and the shawl or Sancho, or one long scarf attached at the top to be a little poncho. And I used up all of the yarn from the advent, 100%. Whatever was left over, the little itty bits, then went into the yarn worm jar. But yeah, so this is a really nice pattern too. If you're looking to make mitts, the soccer mitts, they knit up really fast. They're the same on both sides, so you don't have to worry about a left and a right. And I keep these in my car. These are my driving mitts. I'm not one to use gloves, but sometimes the wheel on the car gets really, really cold in the winter, and that's what I'll use for driving. So soccer mitts, highly recommend. These were just a vanilla sock to my size. And I did say Casapinka pinions pattern. And I think that is a wrap. I think I have pretty much talked about everything. I sometimes think I don't have enough to talk about. And my plan had been to mostly talk about this, but then it turned out that this whole thing with the Neona took over, and I had to throw that in here. I could have waited for the next episode to talk about it, but it wouldn't be any fun to talk about it after the fact. You needed to see what it looks like now. You needed to see what my moment was all about. I wanted to share that with you. I hope you guys appreciate my need to do that with you, because you understand me, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? Because we're all friends here. We're all knitters and crocheters, and we know how much we love our yarn, and sometimes we can let go of the mistakes and sometimes we can't. I can't sometimes, but in this case, I'm going to have to just accept that the back of that Neona. Yeah, I think I can do it. I can do it. You guys think I can do it? Anyway, if you've made it this long here with me, I want to thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm off these few days of work leading up into Labor Day. We've had some family time. We spent the day yesterday in Newport, Rhode Island with my son. He bought us lunch. Love it when he says, I'll pick up the tab. Like, you certainly can. We had a great day. Some of those photos are on Instagram. And at the end here, I'll put a picture of my little love bug, Gary, waiting at the door to be let into his sauna. So thank you all for joining me here again. I really value you and appreciate your time for being here with me. You all bring me so much joy. So I want to say thank you. Muito obrigada. Until next time, até a próxima. I was starting to put things away and I realized that I forgot to leave a prompt for a comment. I've seen some podcasters do this and I thought I would give it a try as well. So if you've watched it here till the end, feel free to leave me an emoji just to let me know that you're there and you kept me company all the way to the end. It can be a heart, it can be a thumbs up, it can be a high five, it can be a picture of a cat with the heart eyes, whatever is easier for you. If you leave that on there, then I know that you've been along with me here till the end. Thank you. Obrigada. Ciao.